let's look back at what has been discussed in the past 2 days. Does anyone have a comment about that, about the kind of lessons that we're taking forward from all of this, or recommendations?
Simply deep gratitude. Thank you so much. It was brilliant.
Oh, thank you, Sharanjit. Right, I want to look at the policy implications. I did say that one thing is what Ian Mole raised, which is that robotics and coding is oh gosh, he said a curriculum disaster. And we can probably describe that. Ian, do you want to recap quickly, just so that we can have wording with which to pass that on?
Okay, look, just let me clarify. I didn't say that robotics and coding as such is a curriculum disaster.
Sorry.
In my first slide, I said that I think it's correct and necessary that there is such a component to the curriculum. Whether it was a separate subject or part of a broader curriculum, I'm not sure. But I think that it's policy construal at the moment, particularly in that answer that the minister gave, but in the way that it seems to be unfolding in schools, is being located in too narrow and too technicist a conception of skill. So that's what I was saying. Okay. And
okay.
Get that right. I'm not saying
yes.
as such it's a curriculum disaster.
I'm very glad I asked for clarity here.
Okay.
Thank you. So basically how it's being realized in the class.
Well, how it's being construed as an interpretation of policy.
Right, right.
That's not only in the classroom, it's also, I think, at the level of things like district offices, university technology researchers, whatever the case might be. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, if people are happy with it, I will engage further with Ian and just pass on a sentence to the Department of Basic Education to note our concern about how the amendments to the curriculum, how those policies are being rolled out in practice. The second issue I think should be raised is the connectivity issue, which is completely pervasive. The digital divide has increased during the pandemic and other disasters. And there has to be urgent attention to that. Then the issue that 30% as a qualification for a subject at matric level is not enough, well, even at lower level, but that a 30% pass mark is not acceptable. And then supporting offline digital materials. What I've gathered is that also in our own experience, these are funded by private sector companies or agencies. And I don't know if one can make that kind of demand, but it seems to me such an obvious way to go. And everything that's at our fingertips when we've got access to equipment and connectivity is not available across the country in all schools. And so somehow that resource, in effect, should be made available to schools across the country. So these are my proposals for recommendations. I would like to hear your response to that. Catherine?
I think one of the things I was just wanting to react to was the all three of our children have made it to the National World Robotics Olympiad. And that what I did find really problematic is, as you say, it's not about coding, it's also about understanding mechanical engineering, torque. I know my one son, they realized the cable to the one wheel was a bit faulty, so he'd make this wheel go 110% and this wheel at 90%, but he needed a builder, and there was collaborative learning. So the way in which it's being kind of put as something quite small, and you learn a bit of coding and you get given an object that it's not really about what the discipline is all about, which is inherently about dealing with objects in the real world, and where you need your basic sciences of how energy works, how wheels work, torque, and so on. And that was my reflection, was that it requires interdisciplinary work, it requires collaborative thinking, it requires your builders and your coders. They're very seldom in the same person to actually work together. And that if you just make it, let's press this again, what are you really teaching? Are you really grappling with everything that is needed in order to make for a success? And that was the feeling. All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Sharanjeet? Can't hear you.
Sorry. Just connecting to the last point that you made about implementation of policy to practice. You know, even if to start with, there's a program that NGO heads like me, district directors, subject advisors, if we could all have a planned program of training. You know, kind of speakers, now my staff has listened to yourself and the speakers yesterday and today. It's already shifted their motivation into wanting to do more. So it's not like we are asking for training for days and weeks and months. Even if they're online training in the new, whichever digital program they want to roll out. Unknown caller. Sorry, coding or robotics or anything like that, training. Just a little bit more training. Online training can be rolled out to every single school now. I'm almost certain of that, not 100%. So just requesting training, please, more training.
Okay, thank you. Noted. Just check the chat. No, that is about other things. Okay, and my other suggestions, you're happy with that, everybody? So that we should say to the Department of Basic Education that the connectivity issue is an urgent one, and things have to be done to make that available, to support offline digital materials, and then that 30% pass rate is not enough for the STEM subjects. Okay, I think we are close enough to time the time of the end of the discussion forum. I thank all of you very much for staying till the end. There are 49 participants at this stage, and we were 50 something earlier in the day. So it's very heartwarming to know that you are online and that you're listening and hopefully learning something which you can take forward with you, which you can use in debating issues on social media or in person. As we said, everything will be on the website. It is on nstf.org.za on the discussion forum section. You go to previous discussion forums because this one is now completed. And there you can find presentations of the speakers, but there'll also be video clips of the speakers presenting. So you'll have the audio with the presentation slides, right? All of that subject to speakers' permissions. And we'll have the proceedings that have been written up by Heather Erasmus, and we'll be issuing a media release which summarizes the issues that we've been discussing today. And then there'll be a letter to the Department of Basic Education. If there's anything further that you want to communicate, please drop us a line at inquiries@nstf.org.za. We'd love to hear from you.